There's a popular verse in Philippians chapter 2 where it says to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And by the way, fear there is reverence, and trembling means to not have confidence in your own ability. So work out your salvation with reverence and trust in his ability. For it is God who works both to will and to do his good pleasure. That word his, as in his good pleasure, is in italics. That means it's not in the original. Now, I know this goes against what most people preach, but the his good pleasure actually is your good pleasure. His isn't in there. God is working in you, partnering with you to do your good pleasure. Chances are, if it's in there, if it's your good pleasure, it's God who's put it there in the first place. I remember that line from the Chariots of Fire, which when I was a young believer, I thought, what a load of rubbish. But now I get it. It's where Eric Liddell says, when I run, I can feel his pleasure. I now get that. You see, what we are doing is we are taking hold of God and we are partnering with God so that we are doing what's in us. I remember once when I was a guest speaker at a convention in the outback of Australia amongst the Aboriginals. And I was around the campfire and I was sitting next to an Aboriginal pastor. And I said, why is it that Aboriginals are so sensitive to spiritual reality, whereas us white people are so insensitive to the spirit realm? And he said, when I was a little boy and I would have to hunt for kangaroo to feed the family that night, I'd put the kangaroo over my shoulder and I'd head towards the campfire. Now, if there was someone walking the other way, I had to feel whether he is going to fight me for that meat or whether he's just going to keep walking because he's going somewhere. And he said how he learnt from a young age to feel life. And that's what it's like as we grow in grace, as we grow in God. We are learning to feel the kingdom. And by the way, the best way to do that is to know God. The more you know God, the more you feel him. And that's what we are doing as we grow in grace. We are feeling the kingdom. Our senses are being trained and exercised. Now, the thing is this, we're going to make mistakes, but we're free to make those mistakes. And in fact, this is where nothing in God is wasted, because those mistakes help me train my spiritual senses. You know, it's not Jesus take the wheel, which is a common phrase now. It's not Jesus take the wheel. I've got the wheel. But as I grab hold of God and partner with him, I am driving in partnership with him because it's my good pleasure. You know, one thing that used to hold me back was, is God in this? Is this God's will? And I'd always be frightened to make the mistake and step out. But I'm the one driving the wheel. You know, it's not when two sets of footprints turn into one. It's when he carried me. Two sets of footprints turned into one when I grew and mature and I started to pursue those things that are in me as I partnered with God. I grew into the things of the kingdom. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They'll help you. And by the way, when you love something, you love its boundaries. A person who loves football loves the rules of football. A person who loves God and his kingdom loves the boundaries of God and his kingdom. Why? Because they keep us free. And the more I grow in God, the more I grow in grace, I feel those things. And I'm free to walk in life.